I see you, B Rose. Hello. Thanks for joining. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead in respect of everybody's time, I'm going to go ahead and start this party. And this party is actually somewhat of a selfish party because even though Keto Coach Neil is a fellow coach of mine in Dr. Barry's PhD community, we really don't get to talk on one very much. So part of this is selfish. I want to hear more about Neil's journey and where he's at. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring him on and I'm basically going to ask him to introduce himself and we'll go from there. So here we go.
And we are here.
We are here. Yay.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Marcia. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it will be fun. You know, it's funny because we're on meetings and stuff like that together, but we never talk.
We never talk anymore.
No, a few texts once in a while. But anyway, so take it away, Neil. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I started out as a small boy. Neil Burcham, originally from the great state of Delaware, but moved to the South, moved to Tennessee back in '92, and now currently live just outside of Asheville, North Carolina. I've got a background in visual arts and music performance, but I developed some bad habits along the way, like living indoors instead of out, eating, things like that. So I got into the IT field, but now I'm trying to work my way out of the IT field.
Which is going to take how long?
Oh, how much time we got?
Meaning retiring from that job and moving on to continuing on with your coaching or what?
Yeah. And I'm sure we'll get into this here in a little bit, but yeah, there's been a bit of a catharsis when it comes to health and just the need that's out there. Okay, disclaimer. I love to cut up and be snarky and all that, but every now and then you'll get glimpses, just a glimpse here or there of me being serious. I know. But that's one of them, is that there is a genuine need out there, and there's so much noise, especially even as the health and wellness space, market, industry. There's more and more people getting involved in that to varying degrees with varying specialities and niches. But there's so much noise out there. It's like, back in the 80s, Susan Powder, stop the insanity. Sometimes it's so confusing with so much information and so readily available that people can get overwhelmed and just say, it's not worth it. I'm just not going to do it. And so that's why, my whole aspect, my whole take on this is PhD synergy, a proper human diet synergy, looking at all the different aspects to varying degrees, at varying times, varying seasons, to get the dietary nutritional aspect, get the sleep and rest, get the activity and exercise, which are two different things, get the mental, emotional, and in some cases spiritual aspect of things, because they all work together. And like the saying goes, a rising tide raises all the ships. So that's kind of my mantra, my thing. And what we want to do is help people to energize and just revitalize their life.
And how long have you had your PhD Synergy space up and running?
I guess it's been a little over a year now.
Okay. And you do private coaching through that website and that space, one-on-one private coaching?
That's correct.
Okay. Outside of the PhD community, it's your own business.
Yeah. Within the PhD community, Dr. Barry's community, which is phenomenal. Even if you just want to test the waters, get in that community. The support is amazing. If group coaching is your thing and you want to get a variety of different coaches and personalities, and plus just the membership is just phenomenal, and the support that we get from one another. So yeah, I've got a space within that where we do some group coaching, but then outside of that, that I guess has been probably about 6 months that's been up and live, where I do one-on-one coaching. And I did it informally before that. And I
Yeah.
did an interview a few weeks ago with a guy named Rob, and he was one of the first batch of clients that I had, and his story is phenomenal. Uh, and I talked to him the other day, and it's just like, wow, he's come a long way. And again, he was like so many people I've run across, where who do you listen to? There's so many out there. Help me separate fact from fiction. And he's a chemist by trade,
Oh, wow.
and so he understands. Yeah, when you get into the weeds of, like the Ben Bickman stuff, or the
Yeah.
Rob Sywes, he understands that, but he's like, but there's so much.
Yeah.
What's going to help me on a practical level?
Yeah. And I think businesses like yours, and I think we have a couple other PhD coaches that have their own private one-on-one coaching businesses. Sometimes I agree totally with you. It's like, well, and we see it during live streams and people saying, well, Dr. Cybus says to do this. Should I do this?
Hmm.
Or Dr. Berg, does this and it's not working for me. So it's so confusing. There's so much information and, everybody's different. But if you are just having a hard time straightening all this out and figuring all this out, somebody that does one-on-one coaching like yourself might be the way to go.
One of the things that I like, and I think Bronson's going to steal this from me, so I need to copyright it real quick. Everyone's health needs, nutrition, rest, activity, all that. Your health needs are going to be as unique as your fingerprint,
Yeah.
which means that, not that Dr. Cybus or Dr. Berg or Dr. Boz or any of them, that it's not that that's wrong or right, or it's indifferent. It's just, does that apply to me? That's the real question. And
Yeah.
sometimes you're like, I don't know, or I don't want to go down that road if I don't have a reasonable degree of certainty that it's going to be effective. I don't want to waste my time, and I don't want to be experimenting on my body unnecessarily.
Exactly. And it's almost like I feel like when we see these comments from different members, they're kind of jumping around all over the place. You almost really need to stay with something for a while. And, Dr. Barry and Nisha frequently say, try something for 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try something for 2 weeks and then, oh, I don't like this. I'm going to try something else. Your body's going to be so confused. It doesn't know what the heck to do. And so then nothing's going to work.
Yeah. And your mind is so confused because
Yes.
I've done this for, 20 years, 30 years. And let me switch gears here. Oh, 2 weeks. This is uncomfortable. Let me try something else or go back to that. You're all over the map,
Right.
and you've not given it the old college try.
Yeah.
90 days is a good, you won't get all your results in 90 days, but you'll get
No.
enough to know this is tracking or this is not.
Yeah. It's yeah, and there's been a few instances early on when I had questioned Dr. Barry about something, and he said, I think one of the ones was dairy.
Hmm.
Um, try being the only thing I use dairy for is heavy cream in my coffee. I very rarely eat any cheese or anything like that. Oh, I use
Right.
butter, but I don't consider that dairy because it's got animal fat in it. But anyways, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do that. So I get where people are coming from, but that was a while back. Just to
I
say,
tell folks to run. This is me. I run everything through my berry filter,
yeah,
which means I have, over the course of starting my journey, I kind of landed on, okay, Dr. Barry, this guy I can relate to. It makes sense. It's practical. This is resonating very well with me. All right, so he is
yeah,
now my source of truth.
yeah,
And then from there, where do you go? Okay, for me, you can do what you want. I say, who is someone I would consider a vetted authority, a subject matter expert? Who does Dr. Barry, not who is he a guest of, who does he invite into
Right.
his group?
Right.
Um, so that's when I know someone is, even if they don't agree on everything,
Everything. Hmm.
he says that's a person, a professional who they've got the goods. I want to share them with my people.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, well, let's transition a little bit. And some of the members of our community realize that you had some surgery back before Christmas. Could you just give us a brief scenario about what happened and how you're currently doing?
I am doing well. Spoiler alert. Well, again, it goes back to me starting out as a small boy. And as a nurse, you may or may not have heard of this. There's a condition. It's fairly rare. I don't know the exact statistic, but it affects young males around between 7 and 9 years old. Uh, it's a growth abnormality called, they named it after the three doctors, leg calf perthes. And what that is, the short version,
Yeah.
due to just abnormal growth, or in some cases, necrotic tissue. But in my case, it was just abnormal. The head of the femur is supposed to be a nice round, ball joint,
Right.
and it gets flattened out. It either
Oh,
has
thanks.
dead tissue that gets rubbed raw and rubbed flat, or it just doesn't grow properly to begin with. So my
Yeah.
right hip never grew in just right.
Uh-huh.
Um, so that required me in second grade at like 8 years old or whatever, to be in a cast at
Oh,
my legs were 90 degrees for
okay.
about three
Okay.
months with a big
Yeah.
beam in between them to help it give it a chance to grow out. And then I was 2 rounds of that, and then another year of like leather Forrest Gump braces on my thigh to keep
Uh-huh.
it like that too. And then they said, "Oh, well, X-ray show you're good. You're healed up. Your hip joint looks great. It'll never bother you again." Guess
Hmm.
what? So at 49 years old, I was like, "Man, my hip is really starting to bug me." It didn't hurt,
Yeah.
but I couldn't maneuver as well as I used to. And it was like, this isn't an old age thing, because I had been, yo-yo dieting and fitness up and down for 20 plus years. It's like, this is a mobility thing, not a pain thing.
Yeah.
And so my doctor, who's also a sports medicine guy, he said, yeah, you have very little mobility in that hip left. You need a new hip. And that same day we got some more images and he showed me. I'm like, ooh, okay, I guess I need a new hip. So he got me in. We got actually kind of fast tracked it within a couple of months. I was in, and that was in December 11th. And as of this recording, we're April 23rd, and so not even 6 months out, and I'm doing fine. We were talking earlier. I was actually doing things that I'm not supposed to do
Yeah.
by their time frame. I was, before my PT was even over. And the physical therapist was a little angry with me. I said, because it was adjoined to the local YMCA. I was like, yeah,
Oh.
I was doing elliptical sprints last week. She's like, what?
Well,
It's like, what? I'm fine. She's like, oh, okay. But what you were asking me earlier was, yeah, it's not typical,
yeah.
because typically people that get hip replacements, in your experience, are they 50 and under?
No, I only know one person, and that was somebody I used to work with, and she had horrible, horrible arthritis. So, but
Now,
no,
now
it's
you know too.
yeah.
So yeah, here's the thing. They had told me, the physical therapist and even the doctors have said, you're not the typical hip replacement patient.
Yeah.
You're not 78, and frail to begin with.
Yeah.
You were 49, now 50, and I was in very good health, metabolically, fitness wise. I was in good health going into this,
Yeah.
and so the healing process shrunk down. It's like a healing espresso,
Yeah.
and
And a big component of that, I'm sure, was a proper human diet.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I asked the coaches, I asked Dr. Barry himself. I said, "What's the best way to prep for
Yeah.
this?" And he said, "Well, you're already on a very meat heavy ketovore diet." He said, "Go carnivore for about 2 weeks prior, and then also go into a fast before right before the surgery, and go as long after as you can, just to let your cells heal up."
Yeah.
And I got to say, that was some of the best advice I had. I've had surgery on my wrists for some cysts years ago, and I remember it just took forever for those to
Yeah.
heal. And now, yeah, I was doing elliptical sprints before my PT was out.
Oh
And
God.
and I've done road sprints, over the last several weeks. Um, yeah, just a lot of things. I was doing deeper squats than I should have been doing earlier on. They said, just don't tell us that, and then we can have plausible deniability.
So that's a good point. I'm talking about road sprints and squats. Um, you had a joint replacement, which means explain to people what that means. You had part of your bone cut off.
Yes, and let's just keep it real. They did an incision, and I will say, modern miracles of medicine. There's a newer procedure. Hip replacements used to be anterior, which means they would have to go in and through the gluteus maximus, cut the muscles
Oh,
to
ouch.
get them out of the way. Then they also would do a lateral coming in from the side. Again, they're having to cut all kinds of muscle, and that takes forever to heal. Especially, the glutes, that's the largest
Yeah,
muscle in your body. It's going to take the
absolutely.
longest to heal. And you do so much with it, way more than you would expect. But the newer procedure, I think it's, I don't know, 10, 15 years old, is anterior, where they come in through the front.
Uh-huh.
And there's an incision about, I don't know, 5-6 inches. And that's it. And then they can go in, move some. Now, it still doesn't tickle, but
Right.
they can move the muscle and the tendons around to get to what they need to. So there's no cutting involved
Yeah.
of muscle tissue. So that helps the recovery in and of itself.
Yeah.
But so what they do is they move it out, and they take a Black and Decker or whatever, and they saw the head of the not just the head of the femur, but also where it comes down.
Yes.
They cut that off. They drill a hole down the rest of the femur, and they tap with a hammer a metal rod that has an angle and a little ceramic ball joint. And then they put on the other side, in the pelvis, they put a little silicone cup, and that's your new hip joint. Then they move the muscles back in place, sew it on up, and send you to the recovery room.
Folks, what he says is true. When I was a nursing student, I had the opportunity to observe surgeries. I never scrubbed or anything, but I could just stand around and observe. And the one that affected me mentally the most was somebody that was having their spine operated on. And they called it a laminectomy at the time. And honestly, they use chisels and hammers that looked like it could have been sitting on your dad's or your husband's workbench. They use those real tools. So the way he described it is not a joke. They really use tools like, of course, they're fine tuned and sterilized and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, they do that. So, I mean, it's no wonder that people that aren't in the best of shape when they go into this suffer quite a bit. I mean, I have an aunt that's had 2 hip replacements and she's still on pain medication 24 hours, 7 days a week after 2 hip replacements. So, but she's just not active. She sits around a lot. So, what can I say? Well,
And I
that's
will
good.
say, I had and this was years ago, and yeah, I think a lot of people have this perception of, doctors, surgeons, they're on these pedestals that we've put them on. That's
Yeah.
why I love what Dr. Berry just says, they're just dudes and chicks.
Chicks.
But they're on that pedestal. He's a surgeon.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I still had to fight a little bit of that, but it's better because I forget when it was, but I had wisdom teeth taken out
Yeah.
years ago. And I guess the anesthesia wasn't quite strong enough. So I started to come to when they were crushing one of the teeth to pull it out.
Oh my
And
goodness
I
gracious.
realized this isn't as scientific as I was led to believe.
And you can't
Yeah.
move your mouth because they've got your mouth uh, blocked open.
Right.
You can't.
So all I remember is I remember opening one eye just enough. The doctor was on his little wheelie chair
Yeah.
over, and he wheeled back over and said, "Oh," and I was out.
Oh, good.
But
You
that
saw
was
that
just
you were
enough.
coming to. Well, I work with surgeons, and some of them, don't get me wrong, some of them have horrible bedside manner, but they're awesome surgeons.
Oh yeah.
Some have both good bedside manner and good surgeons, and some are just so full of themselves that I don't think I would ever have them touch my body. But,
Right.
anyways, any other thing you want to share about your surgery experience and your recovery experience?
Being healthy metabolically and being active beforehand, I think was a big key.
Yeah,
And they go hand in hand because how can you be active beforehand if you're not also to some degree metabolically healthy or at
sure.
least on the way?
Yep.
Um, I know too many people that have said, you know, once I started to heal metabolically and get my diet and all that in order, then I began to have more energy, more stamina, and I was able
Yeah.
to do more things and then start doing formal exercise. Um, yeah, it's kind of a cart versus horse.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you have to get that process moving.
Yep.
Um, yeah, whether getting off the couch and and going to the gym or doing something at home.
Yep.
And then you realize, oh, there's a nutrition. See, that was Bronson's whole thing. He was a fitness guy who realized later, oh, there's a nutrition side. When you marry them up,
Yeah.
then you've got a winning match. I was
Yep.
the other way. I was, you know, sick and tired of being sick and tired and just started to change my diet. And then
Yep.
I realized, oh, I can do more. I can do some of the things I used to do way back when I thought exercise was the only way to stay in shape, lose fat.
Right.
Um, which, by the way, that doesn't work. Spoiler
Doesn't
alert.
work. I've been there, done that. I
Hmm.
hear you. Okay, well, I think I said one of the things I was thinking about asking you about was um, give a brief medical history about why you wanted to change your way of eating. I think you kind of touched on that already,
I was
but
miserable.
you did have some, um, you were overweight and you did have some metabolic issues. Have those issues gone away or improved or?
Well, I started out. Uh, I guess day one was uh, it was January 14th of 21.
Wow.
It's a weird day to pick, but that's what I picked.
Yeah.
That's when I finally just said enough
Yeah.
and started to alter my diet. I was over 270 pounds, about 280, and I was lethargic. I had no energy. Uh, I was just blah. I was meh,
Yeah.
and I had very high blood pressure. And my wife is a nurse, and she was concerned I was going to stroke out on her.
Yeah.
I mean, it was when she said your blood pressure is 200 over 100 and something, she's like, this is not good.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm sure you're on medication for that.
yeah, oh yeah, I was on two different medications for blood pressure,
Yeah.
and it was still hard to control,
Oh, wow.
very hard to control.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Oh, and yeah, they wanted to put me on statins because cholesterol, which really looking back wasn't that high, but he was my doctor. He's on that pedestal still.
Exactly.
Um, but I stopped taking that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Um, But my triglycerides, this is interesting. My triglycerides, when I not when I first started, but like a few months prior, so it may have gotten worse. 488.
Ooh,
Yeah, no bueno.
wowza.
Yes. So now fast forward, only 3 months. 3 months of not even a hardcore carnivore, of a keto to dirty keto-ish, kind of ride the fence of a keto-ish diet, dropped them more than in half in 3 months. It was under
See?
243 after 3 months. Now I'm well under the what's the range is like 150. I'm well under that.
Yeah. And how
So
about the HDL side of it?
HDL, I don't know what it was starting out, but now I believe at the last check I was like around the 70 ish. So
Perfect.
it's gone up.
Yeah.
And almost instantly, within 2 weeks, brain fog completely gone, and it was that euphoria of I am so clear headed. Where has this feeling been all my life?
Yeah. But you know what? You probably initially you were thinking, I wish I would have known now back then what I know now. But you can't think of it that way. You have to think of
Right.
it when you know better, you do better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's, the past is a great teacher of good
Yeah.
things and bad things.
Yeah.
The future is going to be great based on what I do right now.
Yep.
So I learn from my past, plan for my future, but I deal with it in the present.
Yep.
And that's one of the things. I mentioned the mental and behavioral side of things. One of the things that we're implementing into our practice is mindfulness.
Yes.
And for those that have a spiritual side, whatever their faith may be,
Yeah.
I encourage folks to incorporate that, because that's part of who you are.
Yep.
Incorporate that into mindfulness and meditation, and if that means a prayer time of some kind, whatever you need to do to realize where you are in your life, because all we have is right now. I could say I'm going to snap my fingers and that'll be now, but nope, that's not now any longer. It's in the past.
Yes.
All we have is right now. So make good decisions now for your future based on what you learned from your past.
Yep.
That's
gotta,
a big thing with me here lately.
Hold on a second. A little pause for a second. Got to get this noise to go away. Okay. So, and you do too, I see regularly in the community and on your personal space, you do post messages like that. And I put one out there this morning. One of my favorite things to do every morning is to get my coffee, go sit outside and listen to the birds. I have a little app, if I'm not familiar with the tune or if I'm not familiar with the picture of the bird, that will pick it up for me. It's called Merlin, Merlin, if anybody's interested.
I've heard of that.
And so I sat out there this morning with my coffee. The weather was kind of crappy, but I just wanted to sit out there. It's like you hear the birds singing, you smell the air. Like this morning, it was kind of foggy and moist, but that's okay. It's just kind of like it's a mind cleansing activity that you do. Good way for me personally, to start my day. Unfortunately, in the wintertime, we do get temperatures in the 30 degrees here in Southern California, believe it or not. So it's rare that I sit out there in the wintertime, but so I look forward to the spring when I can get out there again. So
it's cold therapy.
Yeah, I tried that for a little bit, but quickly stopped.
I'm grounding with my bare feet in 30 degrees. No.
Yeah, we don't get, I know you guys get snow, right, Neil?
We're supposed to. Mountains of North Carolina, but the last 3 years we haven't had hardly any snow.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, we don't get it here locally where we live, but up in the mountains 30 miles from here they do. So, okay, next topic.
Well, let me just, one thing you mentioned was, getting your day started, getting that attitude. And I don't mean mental. I mean, you're mental, but just your attitude of how you're approaching the day.
Yeah.
And taking time to do that. And I was on a call with a client earlier, and one of the things, she's seeing these kinds of results of just turning the world off, turning the noise off for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I tell a lot of folks, if you can take 3 minutes of mindfulness here, there, wherever you can, it's going to make such a big difference. But she even has gone a little bit further, and so have we as a family. No cell phones at the dinner table. We sit down all at the dinner table, number one.
Yeah.
Number two,
Yeah.
no devices at the dinner table.
Yep.
We have to eat, but we're here for the company, for the conversation, which is beneficial too. But then from a physical nutritional standpoint, you're slowing down. You have time you're not going to inhale your food.
Yep.
And satiety signals be damned. I'm just going to keep shoveling it in.
Then Dr. Sivas calls that Rottweiler syndrome.
Yeah. And then you
Rottweiler syndrome. Yeah.
You are uncomfortably stuffed.
Yeah.
Because you were so busy shoveling food down your gullet that that signal hasn't had a chance to process, and you just keep eating, and you don't realize that you're full until it's too late and you're miserable. And being able to slow down and eat and digest properly.
And taste the food.
Yeah.
Taste it. I'm sure Julie can attest to this, because being a nurse and working, it's very rare that you can sit down and enjoy a nice leisurely meal. Mm-hmm. You always got to kind of you can't even go to the bathroom sometimes without being interrupted. So that profession is a little bit hard to follow that kind of mindset, but you do the best that you can.
That's when you learn the joys of fasting.
Yeah. Wish I would have known about this when I was working as a nurse, but oh well. As you say, when you know better, you do better. How did you find this way of eating? How did you find this proper human diet? What led you down towards this way?
What led me to the dark side? The dark chocolate side.
Oh yeah.
See what I did there? Yeah. Honestly, do I have a specific moment? Not that I can think of. I'm sure there was one. I got sick and tired, and it was November of 20. I got the vid and had to stay home, and I started, looking at my tummy and got upset with it. And I started looking at things, do I just need to exercise more? What do I need to do to fix this?
Yeah.
And so I started personal research, and I found, all the usual suspects kept coming up.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, okay, well, I see that. I see that. It makes sense. That kind of makes sense. I don't understand that. And maybe it was, and I don't want to, put undue emphasis, but I believe Dr. Berry's personality and his presentation is what resonated. Not that the information was that much different than a lot of the other, the usual suspects.
Yeah.
But his presentation is just something that resonated with me personally.
Yep.
It was relatable. And so then I started to watch his videos more about how he showed up in there. I don't know, just the algorithm. But then I started to dig into what he was saying, and then who was he interviewing? That's, early on, he did an interview, early on for me, he did an interview with Michelle Hearn, the dietitian, and I got her book, and it's like, I wouldn't have known about that had I not seen her interview with him. And so, and there's so many that are like that, but it was just his, and I really want to avoid, a cult of personality where it's just like, oh, Dr. Berry says, no, he's just a dude. She's just a chick.
Yes.
And they'll be the first ones to tell you that.
Oh yeah.
But it was, for someone who's very into the medical side, I know several people, they like, Ken Berry is great, but man, that Rob Sivas guy, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And I like Tro. I like Tro a lot. I like some other folks.
Yeah.
But again, it goes back to that Berry filter, that source of truth for Neil is Dr. Berry.
Yeah. And so currently, how are you eating right now? What type of proper human diet are you on?
Well, currently, I'm not eating anything.
Well, okay, so you took me literally.
I am a very meat heavy keto. I'm not quite. I'm like 90% carnivore,
Yeah,
and it's not. Yeah, I just put something out the other day about purist versus practical. Don't get me on the dogma.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm mostly carnivore, but I'm not trying to be. That's just kind of where I've landed, where I've zeroed in. Um, if you want to label it as something, go right ahead. I don't.
yeah,
I just know what I can eat, what how I respond best,
yep,
and I know what things to watch out for. To put it onto a matrix somewhere, I guess it would be almost carnivore, but not quite.
yep,
Oh, but the oxalates. Oh, but the I don't care.
yeah.
I'd figured out, and it was
Spices. Oh,
one.
that's not carnivore. You can't have spices. There's carbohydrates in them. Yeah. Yeah, I understand. And that's kind of how I am too. I do say though, and you can chime in on this too, once we switch to more mostly carnivore, we found we even though people say meat is expensive, yes, meat is expensive. But we say actually save money
Mhm.
because we, especially on the fresh vegetable and leafy green side, because for two people, it's just two of us. We don't have any kids in our house. So we would throw a lot of it away because it would go bad.
Mhm.
So why am I it's like throwing money down the drain. And the vegetables aren't cheap either.
No. And I'm of the opinion, I mean, yes, when you go to the grocery store and you take a lap and you're done,
Yeah.
you ignore the center, you just take a lap, get my steps in. Um, yeah, you're gonna save money
Yep.
in, not just in the long run, in the short run, because you're not buying a bunch of empty calories that keep
Yep.
you full. They don't, you're not, you're not full, you're not satiated.
Yep.
So you're gonna have to keep eating the stuff that's never gonna fill that empty hole.
Right.
Take a lap and you're going to get good nutrient food, whether that's from the meat department, whether that's from the produce department, whether that's from the dairy department. Real, honest, hard cheese that's actually aged. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, by the way, get your cheeses from the deli. Actually, not the dairy,
Yes. Yes.
but but and I'm of the opinion if you're okay with some vegetables, then how about this? Go to the farmer's market. Get actual local stuff where you can talk to the farmer and get good quality because they can tell you. All you got to do is ask them. Tell me about the soil. How often do you rotate your crops? How do you, and if they look at you funny, okay, go to the next booth, find somebody else. Well, what do
Yeah.
you mean? Never mind.
Yeah. And it used to be eons ago, there wasn't that many farmers markets in local communities, but they're becoming more and more
Hmm.
popular and around. So even if you got to go to the next town because your town doesn't have one,
It's worth the
try it.
drive.
Yeah, you can actually buy meats at some of these and eggs at some of these
Hmm.
too. Now, the only thing I was kind of upset about with the egg part was they were pretty darn expensive for like a dozen eggs. It was like $8 for a dozen eggs, and I'm like, I don't know about you and Julie and your children, but we eat a lot of eggs in this house, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I can't quite justify that expense. So
right. And then that goes always back to get the best foods that you can afford.
right, and for some of us that are retired and are on fixed incomes, it might be a little bit different. You might need to look out for some of those cost things a little bit. But I wish if we had the property and the wherewithal, I would have some chickens, but we just don't have it. We have a little postage stamp size lot behind our house. So, and then we travel a lot. So it's like, okay, when you travel, who's going to feed these birds, because they are going to get some, bugs and worms and stuff from the ground, but they might need to be supplemented too. So anyways,
Right. And then you have to have someone come in and tend to it. So then,
yeah,
okay, there's all your cost savings of doing it yourself just went
yeah,
into your,
yeah.
and so the people that watch chickens, are they chicken tenders?
Are they the ones made with pork panko? Mm.
It's one
I
in
know
every
that's the kind of chicken tenders we have in this house. So,
yeah.
so you previously. went into a little bit of the type of exercise that you do, but what else? What other kind of activities do you do to keep yourself moving?
Well, the simple things like I'll park further away than I need to,
Yeah.
take the stairs instead of the elevator. Um, yeah, just do a lot more things I could have someone help me lift a box or I could lift it myself
Yeah,
with the knees, not the back.
exactly.
Ask me how I know. Um, but then, yeah, other things I do. We have a very hilly neighborhood. I'd say it's probably about a quarter mile, but it's hilly.
Yes. Up and down.
So just leisurely walks around there once a day or once every other day. Uh, we typically do that. We have uh, we have a YMCA. We don't use it as much as we maybe should. I'm not into the gym scene personally.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, we got one here in our town, but then Asheville's, we're there enough. It's like, okay, the kids at Taekwondo, we've got 2 hours for her two classes, so let's hit the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, when no one even smiles at you to welcome you, I'm like, all right, this ain't my jam.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's why I've got just out of the shot here, I've got my bench, I've got some uh, power block nested dumbbells, I got bands, I got a lot of things
Yeah.
for strength training. Plus, you can always do push-ups, no equipment
Yeah.
necessary, pull-ups, no equipment necessary, um, lunges, things, and you add weights to them.
Yeah.
Um, and you add to that what Coach Kevin talks about the body by science,
Yes.
and you can do ultra slow with
Yep.
any of these standard functional movements. And I want to stress functional movements,
Yes.
um, because you know I might be able to get this little muscle right here that no one's going to ever notice. I could get a good pump going by doing this goofy exercise or something. I just want functioning fitness. I want to be able to do things in my life, not just look good. I
You
want to look
know,
good too. But
yeah, of course. Well, just to tag on to that, when we were younger, at least I'm speaking for myself now, but I'm assuming you probably might have thought about this too, and even maybe Julie. When you were younger, you wanted to look good. You wanted your body to look good. You wanted to be able to like I've been working out in gyms forever, and I used to be the person in the hospital everybody would come to help pull somebody up in bed because they knew I lifted weights. So I can't tell you how many times I pulled people up in the bed. But
there's an art to that.
yeah, but and I learned from an excellent person the proper way to lift, and that was my husband. So because he was way into the whole weightlifting bodybuilding thing when we met. But and what I found is that just like you said, Coach Kevin talks about, it doesn't matter how much weight you lift if you're doing the exercise properly. Because I've seen people in the gym all the time, and this is funny, and I can't remember who was talking about it recently on weight equipment and also on cardiovascular equipment. They're just going, they're just pumping really fast, and they're at like say 200 pounds. Really? And it's a skinny little old lady. Well, she's barely moving. She's just barely moving the plates. She's not really getting the effect of it. So, for any of you out there that are thinking about starting to work in a gym so you can lift some heavy things, make sure you make an appointment with one of the employees there that shows you how to use the equipment properly. Otherwise,
Mhm.
you're going to be wasting your time.
Yeah, you're not getting full range of motion. You're not.
No.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
you're doing something improperly that
Right.
could get you hurt.
Hurt. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing I do, and please don't laugh. You probably will anyway. But way back in 1998, someone loaned me some VHS videotapes.
Wow.
Yeah, VHS. That's even before Blu-ray, even before
Yeah.
DVD.
That
Uh,
now if you told me beta, I was
Betamax,
wow.
which actually was better quality
It
than
was. It was.
but that's the nerd in me. Laserdisc. Um, Now, someone loaned me some videotapes of a very popular uh, at the time workout routine, and I could say now that without any spandex, um, at 72 or 73 years old, I want to look like Billy Blanks when I'm 72 years old.
Yeah.
Dude is ripped. And I've been doing his form of cardio off and on for 20 some years. That
Awesome.
that's what actually got me kind of into a whole fitness thing. That's kind of what started it all.
Yeah.
But I also learned exercise alone is not going to do it. You
Yeah.
could exercise and then you get into chronic cardio, elevated cortisol, makes you more insulin resistant, et cetera, et cetera. But you for me, a proper human diet for me, adequate rest in between
Yeah.
exercise, doing some daily movement just to keep things moving
Yeah.
has been a big part. Strength training, sprints, and then some cardio. For me, it's usually, one of Billy's workouts because I've got a ton, but mix all those together. And I have a lot of people that would ask me, there's no way I can do all of that in a week. You said don't do chronic this or chronic that. I can't do all of that in a week. I never asked you to.
Yeah. Right.
Go in a 2-week rotation. You
Right.
have proper rest days. I'm going to do cardio here, rest, strength, rest, sprint, rest, cardio. Get on a 2-week cycle, and you'll be in a good shape as far as having the proper rest in between.
Right. Yeah. And it's, I see frequently comments fly by in our community. I work out, I lift weights 5 days a week, and then I'm on the treadmill. No, no.
I had someone, oh my gosh, within the last day or two said, well, today was my treadmill strength or treadmill legs and this and this and this day. I'm like, that's all in one day.
Too
And
much.
my trainer told me to do these.
Oh, well,
Are you kidding
okay.
me? I mean, I don't question the person. I question the trainer.
Yeah, yeah, because they're using their trainer as a resource to help them get going. So, I see there's one question in the chat.
Yes,
Let me s
Ellen, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. Cass Hall has a question. What would you suggest for someone who is just starting to exercise? Is there a list? Currently using the rebounder and the treadmill.
Hmm. How often are you using those? Be the first question.
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
see no lifting of heavy things in there. So
yeah,
to
see,
me, the rebounder and the treadmill could be almost the same thing.
right. Yeah, I see part of the puzzle here.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. So, Cass, if you just
Oh, she
started
just
today.
started today. Oh, okay.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Huzzah.
Yeah.
No, because that's huge. Showing up, you're halfway done.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I've always heard beginning is you're halfway done, and you've already set yourself apart from the masses of people that I know I should one day in the sweet by and by, and they never get off of their blessed assurance.
Mm.
And so
Very
you've done
tactful.
that. You have done that.
Yeah.
So what I would say is what I just mentioned. Get on a 2-week rotation, have rest days in between, and get a baseline of where you are cardiovascularly. That's hard to say.
Yeah. Tongue twister.
Um, from strength, um, I would get a good benchmark for those. Um, if you have a trainer, or even if you have like a local gym where you could go in and just get the free consult and maybe try and work it in. I wonder what I could do if I put myself to it,
Yeah.
and maybe they can do an initial assessment, um, just to give you an idea of where you're starting out from a strength standpoint, from a cardio standpoint, um, and then have again rest days. Or say it's like I would always tell my music students, you could practice all you want, but there's no magic when you show up for your lesson. There's no magic happening there. The magic
Yeah.
happens the 6 days I don't see you.
Yeah.
The magic happens, the healing happens when you're not doing all that, when you're having a rest day, when you're sleeping. That's when
Hmm.
your body goes into repair mode. So be sure to have those built in. And you'll hear some talk and chatter about sprinting. That will be, I would say, if you're just starting out, let that be an eventually thing, or if you're just starting, let that be after a few days, a few weeks. Yeah, you know, no one's looking. Let me just see if I really push myself. Get winded and then write it down. Okay, I pushed myself. I'll call that a sprint. Was it 100% effort? Probably not the first time, but it's more than you did. And it's like, I can't do that more than once today. Good. But that gives you a baseline for your sprinting as well. And that could be on the road or running or on your treadmill. That could be on an elliptical trainer. That could be swimming. That could be on a bicycle. That could be a lot of things.
Yeah, I like my bicycle sprints. I have two osteoarthritic knees. One needs a replacement that I'm not having done right now. But anyways, I pedal on my exercise, not mine, but the gym exercise bike as fast as I can for 30 seconds, and then I stop. I might do that 2 or 3 times during the time that I'm riding the bike.
Yep.
And the sprint, whatever type of sprint you do, it's going to raise your heart rate. It's like high intensity interval training that you hear a
Yeah.
lot of people say HIIT training. It's really very similar to that. So, um,
But it's very condensed. That's the
yes,
trick with sprints is
yeah,
you could do a HIIT workout and it could take you 20, 30 minutes.
right,
Sprinting is 2 or 3 shots of 100% effort and you're done. You can't do any more. That's
right,
a sprint.
right.
Now his nutrition stuff is not on par with a PhD, but there is
Uh-huh.
an exercise guy when I sold fitness equipment many moons ago, a guy named Phil Campbell. He's got it's a Ready Set Go Fitness was his book, and he talks about a Sprint 8
Oh,
methodology. It's very cool. Again, ignore the nutrition stuff, but if
yeah.
you want to get into that and to sprinting, he's worked with a lot of high school and college teams to help them increase their
Oh,
speed, their stamina.
yeah.
Very, very good resource. Again, just I would say take his nutrition stuff with about a 5-gallon bucket of Redmond's real salt.
Cass, feel free to check in once in a while. Let everybody know how you're doing.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. Again, congratulations for getting started.
yes, yes. Hazen has something. Is there a good app to track weight and reps on machines at the gym? Now, I just picked one. I just went to the app store and picked one and downloaded it. Do you have anything you like to use, Neil?
No,
Yeah.
I let's see. I use a Bic or a Pilot G2. This is black. I prefer blue
Yeah.
on yellow lined paper. That's the app that I use. And I figure if I can do 1% better than I did the last session, that I'm good. I forget who said it, but yeah, someone said, improvement comes 1% at a time.
Yeah, and even Dr. Berry says each time you get ready to do your activity, try and do just a little bit more than you did the last time. Doesn't
When
have
I
to be huge.
when I was this 20 years ago, when I need to work out all the time and do
Yeah.
physical activity and I was doing outdoor jogging a lot. But my thing was always, okay, yesterday I got to that tree. Can I go 2 steps further
Yeah.
than that tree this time?
Yeah.
And then it's okay. 2 days ago, which tells you how much I was overdoing it. 2 days
Yeah.
ago, I went to can I go 4 steps past it? And then it was like, okay, then eventually it's like, okay, what's the next landmark
Yeah.
that I can,
Even
set
a
my sights.
crack in the sidewalk or something.
Oh yeah.
I'm
Oh
gonna
yeah.
go to that crack.
All the time.
Yeah,
And the other thing is, and I'm not down on outdoor running or anything like that. Uh, check your gait cycle, check your footwear. Um, but yeah, it's springtime. It's starting to get
yeah,
nice outside. Get outside. You'll get activity. You'll get your sunlight. You'll get fresh air instead of recycled air. So many benefits. And just mentally, it's freeing to be
yeah,
outside when you can,
yeah,
when you're available to. The other thing I would say is going back to what you said. What am I doing to stay active? We don't have a huge yard, but enough that I have to mow. And I was paying someone like $85 every couple weeks, so
mm,
almost $200 a month. And I was like, you know what? This year, it was still winter. I was like, this year I really want to save $200 a month. I got way better things I can spend $200 on
yeah,
a
yeah.
month than a stupid lawn. And I have never enjoyed yard work ever because I used to suffer horribly with allergies. Guess
Mm.
what? PhD? No, I don't. Gone. Um, so I said, what am I going to do? I could invest in them more, but do you realize how much lawnmowers cost these days?
No, they have no clue.
$500 or $600 plus gas. It's like, I'm almost back to it's almost better to pay somebody to do it. I went and on a whim, I thought about it a little bit, but I got a reel mower, REEL, like a reel, like with the little choppy blades. I got a reel mower, and guess what? I invested $140 at Lowe's one time, and now you got to keep up with it. You got to do it every week or so.
Yeah.
Every Saturday or Sunday, I'm out there getting sunlight, fresh air. I'm getting some activity in. Uh, so tell me the bad news. Oh,
Well, and you're
and my
using
yard gets mowed.
the gas that you use is a human powered gas.
Yeah, it doesn't run on gas. It runs on grease,
Yeah,
elbow
yeah,
grease.
yeah.
But
Um,
and if people are, Earth Day was yesterday. It's
yeah,
eco-friendly too. I was just a cheapskate. I didn't want to waste $200.
yeah. Oh, I'm with you. So one final comment. There's a question, and then we'll let everybody go, and you included. CJ jumped on kind of late, but she has a question about what she used to do for activity. Uh, my history with fitness. Let me put this up. Um, my history with fitness has been 2 hour hit Monday through Friday and 3 to 5 hour weekends until I finally came up because it was too much. You were saying we don't need to do that?
And the choir said, "Amen."
Amen.
Yes, that is way too much. You are overtraining, and you're getting diminishing return. You're not just doing too much. You're getting diminishing returns because your body's not even able to heal from what it just did. That's like saying, I need you to work an 8-hour shift. And then tomorrow, I need you to come in early to work a 10-hour shift. And then as soon as you're done with that, I need you to come in and take a 3-hour break. I need you to come in and work a 12-hour shift after that. Do you see where this is leading? Your body is going to rebel, and that's going to turn into elevated cortisol, insulin resistance, and it's just going to start to snowball. Weight gain, other markers are going to go south. So yes, you've got to have some rest days. That's why, yeah, you gave up because it was too much. You're right. You're
And it
absolutely
doesn't help
right.
you get rid of body fat. All that does not help you
Nope.
get rid of body fat.
And
So,
actually,
and they
you could incur weight gain over time with that.
right. I mean, you might even not be able to gain any muscle doing that much training because it's just it's too stressful. And if CJ, if you're having any problems losing body fat, I'm not saying this is the cause of it, but it could be contributing because you're stressing your body out so much.
Yeah, and it's the equivalent of literally spinning your wheels.
Right.
You're doing a lot of work, but it's doing nothing for you.
Right.
It's almost like spinning your wheels on a hill where your wheels are spinning, but you're still
Yeah.
losing ground.
Yeah.
So
So just
please don't do so much. Doing it, having a fitness routine is good, necessary, and that's cardio as well as strength, sprints. But you've got to have proper rest, and that doesn't mean just sleep. It does mean sleep, but proper just rest days. And that doesn't mean you sit on the couch. That means you get up and you do some low intensity, the fat max, take 100
Yeah.
and 180 minus your age, you'll get a
Yeah.
number.
Yeah.
That's your fat max threshold. You don't want your heart rate to go over that.
Yeah.
That's where a walk will keep you in that fat burning zone. You're getting some movement. I joke, say, you got a heart to pump blood, but this lymphatic system ain't going to pump itself.
Yeah. CJ, you said what a relief. I will follow. Don't just give up on all exercise.
Right.
You just don't need to do that rigorous
Mhm.
of an exercise regimen. Continue moving, follow Neil's suggestions, and you might even, break any kind of a stall that you're on. Who knows?
Right. And start with diet, because sometimes, like in my case, it was just so screwed up that I had no energy. And that gave me, over a few weeks, it gave me more energy and it started to ramp up. And I remember the very first time I started to try and do something, it was literally just nobody's around. The house was empty, but I looked around and nobody was around. I said, I'm going to try one push up. Oh, let me try another one. 8 push-ups later, I realized I hadn't done one push-up in probably 10 years.
Yeah. So you surprised yourself.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh yeah. And that's how, this happens. It kind of, you almost stumble upon it, but then, and then you can also push yourself. Okay, well,
Yeah.
I did 8 that time. Can I do one more?
Yeah.
Can I do one more?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so start with exercise. As you get more energy, push the envelope a little bit.
Yeah.
Let me try, instead of just a walk, well, let me try a brisk walk. And then, hey, nobody's looking. Let me trot from the trash can to the tree or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Don't give up
incrementally.
on activity altogether. You need to do something. You will feel better, but don't go all out, and don't wear yourself out to the point where you're just totally exhausted.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a little bit over the hour. I want to let everybody go. I want to thank Neil. I've been trying to coordinate this with him for a long time. I'm retired, so it's a little bit easier for me. He is a working guy, so I appreciate you doing this with me, Neil.
Absolutely.
And for those of you who had questions that we didn't get to, feel free to message either Neil or myself in the community, and we'll do our best to answer your question. All right, so
Fantastic.
everybody, the Neil's links are in the show notes if you want to reach out to him privately for any kind of one-on-one coaching. And he's got a wonderful YouTube channel, so pay attention to that. And I'll see you in the community, and I'm sure Neil will too.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
All right.
Goodbye,
Thank you so
everybody.
much.